The power of the pause. Doesn't it work really well? Well, good evening, fellow Toastmasters and very welcome guests. I'm not sure, do we have any guests? I'm looking around. See any friendly faces? Okay, I'm not sure to do that. Well, as you can see, I'm short. Andrew's not. And he's not here. He's come back from South Africa with the lurgy, which he can't ship. So he asked me to step in. Now, I was actually going to do the role of general evaluator this evening, so it looks like maybe we'll have to bypass that role. However, there's always a contingency. I have somebody who is not actually going to step completely into the role, but is actually going to practice that role. So I may call on him to give me a few words, but possibly not. So, just to get us in the mood, I was at a conference. Not this weekend, in fact I was at a conference this weekend. I was at a conference the weekend before, but that's even more special. So the conference was a Toastmaster conference. Woo!
How dedicated you are.
I am dedicated. I'm a dedicated follower of fashion, as the song goes. For some of you, that'll be way before your time. It was brilliant. Do you know, a lot of people, it's interesting that Sue says that I'm dedicated. Yeah, I am dedicated to Toastmasters. I love it. It has changed my life. However, you know, for the rest of you, please don't feel that it's only for the upper echelon, you know, the snobby ones like me. You know. Oh no, sorry, I'm the common northerner, aren't I? So, honestly, you'll get so much out of it. There were some fantastic workshops, some great speakers, and there was one speaker called the Naked Leader. So I thought I might follow. No, he was just called the Naked Leader. He wasn't really naked. But what he did was he did this, and he spoke to people like this, and he shook people's hands. Great to see you, Dr. Nika. Brilliant. So what do you think about this? Trevor, welcome guest, very welcome guest, but almost welcome guest, not quite, but you're not guest anymore.
How many drinks have you had?
I've not had any.
What have you had?
You wait till you see me when I have. So, we're going to have a fantastic evening tonight. Look at all the gadgetry and the technology, and it's all about technology tonight, even though there's another word that I'm not going to use because I'll leave that to the grammarian. So what I'd like to do is, just to start the whole evening off, is hand you over to our wonderful Toastmaster, Mr. Mike Lloyd. Big round of
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. For those who don't know, the President is in office from the beginning to the end and oversees the direction that this ship travels in. From time to time, at each meeting we have a Toastmaster, just for one session, which is my turn this week, and next time it will be someone else's turn. So this is your brief chance to see me in action, because I may not appear again for some months. So I welcome you all to the meeting, and I also went to a conference called Stick the Speaker Mode, called District 91 Conference, and I do recommend it. If you can get along, you'll meet some great people, you hear some great speeches, and you may even pick up some great tips as well. So it's always worth going along, if you can, to a district conference. I get one of these each month, and I'm sure you do too. I read it over my cup of coffee. I may miss things, but I want to just draw your attention to this article, The Power of Storytelling. Because tonight we are going to hear some great stories from some great speakers. We have some wonderful speakers coming up tonight. But before the speakers, we have to introduce one or two administrators that help the evening go. And the first one is our grammarian, So to tell us a little bit about what he does and what he will be doing for us, may I have a big round of applause for Wasif? Well done.
Hello everyone, my name is Vasif. I'll be the grammarian for today. So let me first start out by sort of listing down for those who are new what the grammarian does. Whereas basically the grammarian has two functions. One is to introduce new words to the members, and the word for today is spurious. The second thing is that my job is to listen and note the use of English, anything which might be awkward or incorrect or anything which might be sort of, creative use of words. I would be keeping a tab of how many times the word of the day, which is spurious, is used. In the end, perhaps a brief note about the word of the day, spurious. It's an adjective. It means not genuine, not sincere, or not authentic, based on false ideas or bad reasoning. An interesting fact is it's based on the word Latin, which is spurious, spelled slightly differently. And what that word means is illegitimate. And in the Roman days, for any illegitimate child, they would use the surname Spurious before that. And in fact, there was a Roman magistrate called Spurious Lucretius, temporary magistrate. But it's an interesting fact. That's what I'll share with all of you guys. So I look forward to listening to all of you, and thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So, no more spurious comments, but right to the point. The next person we will be listening to is our timer. To tell you how important it is to be a timer and keep within the time allowed, I would ask for a large round of applause for Dominica.
Thank you, Mike. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. I've got a tiny quote for you today. Time and tide wait for no man. So enjoy your life, do what you want to do, because you may not have that chance to do it in the future. You never know what can happen. And yeah, that's it, really. Back to my role. While you talk, I'll be signalling on 3 different lines. Green, when you reach minimum time required. Then amber, when you start to go into the maximum time. So I'll just say, warning, please wrap up your speech. And finally red, which means stop. Okay? That's it for now. I'm going to record your time and come back to say what we've done so far. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Brilliant. Not a spurious word there at all. Right, so everybody can now sit and wait for a speech. And I have asked the speakers to give me an introduction about the talk we're going to give. Now the first speech, as it turns out this evening, is an icebreaker, which means, as you know, this is their first speech talk. The objectives are written on the agenda: speak before an audience, use speaking skills, and introduce yourself. So where can we go wrong? Owen is doing his icebreaker speech this evening entitled 3 Peaks, talking about a charity challenge he did years ago. He's asked us to pay particular attention to the rhythm and speed of his speech. Before we start, can I ask Owen to stand? So you all know who he is, and can I hear Owen? With a speech entitled 3 Peaks, I give you Owen. Good luck.
Thank you very much, yes, it was Toastmaster. So fellow Toastmasters, back in 2010, a number of my friends had recently joined the forces. So peers, I really wanted to raise some money, for what they were doing. So my friend and I, peers, decided to raise some money. This was for a charity called SAFA. So SAFA was sort of set up during World War II and provides sort of support for anyone who has joined the forces and as well as their families. We wanted to do something that was physically and mentally sort of challenging, and as well sort of something that would not take up too much time. So we decided to do the Three Peaks sort of challenge. This is a well-known route where you climb the highest mountain in England, Scotland and Wales. So if this wasn't hard enough, we decided to make it slightly harder by cycling in between each peak rather than sort of driving. The challenge will see us sort of cycle over 500 miles and climb over 11,000 feet in 6 days. We started our challenge by climbing the highest mountain in Britain and Scotland, which is Ben Nevis. It will take us over 7 hours and we'll be climbing for 4,500 feet. If you haven't been to Scotland, you must. The countryside is simply stunning and is teeming with wildlife. So after climbing Ben Nevis, we refueled and started our cycle to Scafell, and this is England's highest mountain located in the Lake District. Our cycle would last for 3 days, travelling over 100 miles a day. When we climbed to Scafell, we had sort of extremely bad weather. At 3,500 feet, this was our sort of smallest mountain, but was probably one of our hardest. For most of the route, you're actually walking on exposed rock, which is sort of slippery when wet due to the conditions. It would take us 2 days to cycle onto our next and final mountain, which is sort of Snowdon, located in Wales. By the time we got there, we were exhausted. Snowdon is one of the few mountains you can actually get a train to the top of. So given how tired we were, this was extremely tempting at the time. Snowdon is just over 4,200 foot, and it took us 6 hours to climb. So the entire trip took us 6 days, and saw us travel over 100 miles a day on our bikes. We consumed over 30,000 calories and raised over £2,000 for SAFA. So mentally, this was by far the hardest thing I've ever done, and it would be some time before I do anything so silly. And I haven't been on a bike since. Thank you.
Well, I'm put to shame. What a tremendous story. Thinking of cycling up all that, and I didn't cycle up the mountains, but you walked a tremendously long way. Right, timekeeper please, can I have 1 minute for the evaluators to write their comments? Right, thank you. Your attention please. After a brilliant speech, well, we move on to the other speeches. Spurious speeches. Some people need no introduction, so I won't give him one. But we now have the pleasure of Glenn Savage talking to us on a project from the Advanced book. He's doing a project on the Advanced Manual Communicating on TV, and his project is Instructing on the Internet. The objectives you can see on your agenda: learn how to develop and present an effective training program on the web, and receive personal feedback. So be ready with your feedback, folks, because I know you've all watched things on YouTube and are experts at how it should be done. In this project, Glenn will not be here speaking. but rather we'll be watching a video that he's made previously. And it is the recording which will be evaluated. So grab your popcorn, settle back for a speech. A big round of applause for a story called Engage the Enemy, Glenn Savage.
This will contain a spurious moment or two, which will be self-evident. Sorry?
Try and remind people of the objectives.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just important for this project to remember that this is Glenn doing a training programme for us. Okay, so I want you to think about that. When we do the evaluation, I'm going to be asking you to give me your thoughts as well. So just think, is he actually teaching us and training us in a way that's working for you? Yeah?
Good evening. Would you like to know the secret to engaging your audience so they're really interested in hearing what you have to say? Then all you have to do is listen to me for the next 5 minutes, and I'll share 6 ways that you can engage your audience and make them want to listen. Excuse me? Yes? What? I can tell you that I was talking to this audience. Well, you may have been talking to this audience, but not any longer. Goodbye. Now, as I was saying, you have the first 30 seconds to really engage your audience, to create energy and interest in your talk. Just like this plane taking off. 30 seconds in which to really create some energy and interest and grab their attention so they want to know everything you've got to say. So let's look at 6 techniques. Firstly, do something dramatic. Imagine if you were talking about safety in the home and fire. Start with fire. It's really grabbing. Or if you were talking about the dangers of a nuclear war, why not something really dramatic, like a nuclear bomb going off? It's quite riveting and engaging, and they will find the shock factor very good. Next, what about a shocking statistic or fact? For example, in the 5 minutes that I speak to you, 1,200 people will have heart attacks. Or, did you know, in the UK, there are 65,000 children in the care system? Or, perhaps, every minute, an area of rainforest the size of a football field is destroyed. That's 31 million football fields of rainforest destroyed in a year. Thirdly, ask a rhetorical question. We all know. Give them a question that doesn't need an answer, but importantly, pause to let them think about it before you go on. A couple of examples. Is there life on other planets? Or, why are some businesses more successful than others? Or, why do some leaders inspire more? Pause not too long in case somebody in the audience decides to answer. But rhetorical questions are great. Next, a powerful quote. Example, experience is simply the name we give our mistakes. Quotes grab people, and my suggestion is you start to develop a library of different quotes for different occasions. I'm quite a fan of Oscar Wilde, who comes out with some really thought-provoking, witty and challenging things like the old believe everything, the middle-aged suspect everything, and the young know everything. Or, how about, it's absurd to divide people into good and bad. People are either charming or tedious. Powerful quotes. Arouse curiosity. Tease them. Lead them on. They won't know what's coming. An example.